And I tried to work, I couldn't sustain a job. I'd even started drinking at my workplace. You know, I would get out at lunchtime and drink and come back. So I was dysfunctional by the time I went back home. And so I resorted to tote packs. My parents, I've never really asked them why they called me the name King, but my father, he has a background of the Babito, it's called Babito clan in Toro Kingdom. So the Babito clan, they belong to the royal family. So he has that lineage. And so that's how I got to, I don't know why he called me King. My childhood, it was very interesting. I grew up in Kasese, and the community was small. The neighbors knew each other, and I loved to play when I was a kid, like any other kid. I loved hanging out with fellow kids. We loved playing football, running, those games that kids love to play. And so you would find that kids would come from different homes and we are all playing together. And so it was a small community in that everyone knew who your father or your mother is. And it was easy to be reported that we found your son doing this and this and this. So my parents were really very loving, both mom and dad, though my mother was the toughest while we were growing up. She was very strict than my father. And she's the one who used to come in to discipline us in case she found us doing something that we are not supposed to do. But I would say my childhood was good. My parents really gave us their best that they could, and I thank them for that. Yeah, school, in my primary, I went to so many primary schools because my dad, he was working for a government farm. And so they used to transfer him in different districts around Uganda. And so I would stay in Kasese, then they shift him to Mbarara, then they shift him to Kampala, Masaka. So I was involved in those shiftings, and because of those shiftings, I happened to attend to so many schools in my primary. But eventually I went back to Kasese, and that's where I accomplished my P7. That was Equator. But it no longer exists now. It no longer exists. But that's why it was called Equator Model Primary School. But in my growing up, I was so much involved in leadership, I was so much involved in sports. I would run, I would jump. I was a prefect. That's the little I remember in my young primary age. Yeah, then after my P7, I performed well. I went to one of a single-sex school in Mbarara, and it was a whole different setting for me. We are only male, all boys in the school, and I started to meet different people from different backgrounds. There was a lot of bullying by then and a lot of teasing. and there was a lot of fear, especially to newcomers who have joined the school. They would tell you stories about how people are bullied, how people are teased. And so I never spent so much time in the dormitory that I was supposed to sleep in. The school was so big that you wouldn't even tell that if a person is in school or not. It was more like these universities of ours, you say, was a huge school, very huge. And so I would spend weeks and weeks without going even to my dormitory because of bullying and teasing. And I was put in a dormitory where I was sleeping with senior 4s and senior 3s. And so because I was a newcomer, so everyone wants to send you all the time. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. We're like 2 guys who were in senior 1 in a dormitory of senior 3s and senior 4s. And so there was a lot of sending us and all that. So I would run away from that. I had cousins in another wing of the school. So that's where I would spend most of that time. Actually, people thought even I sleep that side. And yet all my things were in the dormitory where they had allocated me. But I think those little things started to affect me while I was in school. And I started to, senior 1 went on well, senior 2, that's when I started to hang around with people out of curiosity. Even me, while starting to hang around them, it was just trying to be friends. You know, these people are cool, and, you know, I'm trying to get to know them. And we had a lot of people who were coming from Kasese, a lot of them. And so we knew each other in school. But as time went on, because of the peer pressure I started to involved in, that's when I started to take alcohol, around senior 2. And I took my first beer. I remember it was Club Listener. And I liked the feeling of it. It made me feel different. And it was out of that feeling I started to indulge with people who also drink. And by senior 3, I'd lost interest in studies. After my senior 4, I went to Entebbe. I did my senior 5 and senior 6. Good enough, I was never expelled in school. I wasn't this kid who liked being in wrong places at the wrong time. If I wanted to do my things, I would get out of school. I would do these things once in a while in school. And I wasn't involving a lot of people in my drinking and smoking while in school. I tried to make it very private and not indulge myself in trying to let people know what I was so doing. So, what these things did to me in school, I lost concentration. I lost the purpose why I was in school. And I went into things that were totally, completely off to why I was in school. So, my senior 6, I really performed badly. And by the time I finished senior 6, I was hooked. I was really drinking. I was doing drugs. And then I went in VAC. My parents were not happy with my grades. And yet my parents really believed in me. They really had so much hope in me. And so it was like I had disappointed them after my senior 6 results. Luckily enough, I was able to get a place at the university, though on a diploma, not on a bachelor's, because of my performance. And I went to MUBS to do a diploma in business management, which I didn't finish. I dropped out. So many retakes, so many lies, ate tuition. There at campus, life is totally different. You don't have anyone to check on you. You don't have anyone to tell you to go for classes. Your parents are up country. Your brothers are also in different campuses, universities. And so it was a life of drinking, partying, hopping from bar to bar, hanging with different girls. And, you know, it was, the experience now I was having was a little bit limited in my secondary. Now this was the freedom of that experience where I was escaping and I have to go back to school. But this time, you had the freedom. No one was going to ask you, why are you from a club, why are you from a bar? And so there was so much freedom. And that freedom took me to a path that I dropped out of university, and I kept lying to my parents that I am studying, and I wasn't studying. And they kept sending me tuition on I had an account where they used to deposit the money. And my intentions deep inside of me, I wanted to study. But the groups I had around me, they influenced me a lot. And because I wanted to feel, I had friends around me who were really from well-to-do families, from very good backgrounds. And the lifestyle they lived, it was a very luxurious lifestyle. And so I wanted to that life too. So you would find, sometimes I would eat my tuition. I would say, let me withdraw 100,000, I'll replace it. By the time you wake up the next day, you've eaten all your tuition. You have like 200,000 and you've eaten like 1 million in a night. And you don't know where to start from. Like, what am I going to tell my parents? What am I going to do next? And you're like, let me drink. And you drink to run away from that. But the more I drank, I didn't know it was going to catch up with me. And I kept lying and lying to my parents and lying to my parents and forging papers that I am studying and forging marks, taking them home. And everyone thought I was studying. But time for graduation, that's when people started to question my life and if I was really studying. And I found out that I wasn't studying.
Hello, this is Anchored 619. We're so glad that you have followed us all this while. If you're new here, please subscribe, click that notification button. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. You don't want to miss any of our episodes.
So I convinced them that let me go and do another course. And they believed me. And I changed. I went to Uptech. I went to do software engineering. Even I don't know why I went to do software engineering. Just to feel, what do you do? I do software engineering. But there was nothing like, it wasn't even in my blood to do such kind of things. I was there like for 2 semesters, ate the tuition again. That day my dad gave me $1,000 for tuition, drank all of it. I paid on $100. The rest, drank it with people in the bar, friends that I called friends by then. And it blew out. And my parents got to know. And that was the beginning of life. My parents said, you know what? We are done with you. Because I knew what they go through to get these school fees. It wasn't just coming from, hey, we are so rich, we have a lot of money, you can spend it away. No, they worked so hard. to send us to school. But the environment I was in had exposed me to a place of drugs and alcohol. And these were friends, and when you're a child, you don't see far. So when they did that, I was like, okay, let us party. So I used to party. I would drink from morning to evening, Monday to Sunday. I went into the social life of Kampala, the nightlife, the night social life of Kampala. And I hung around with the celebrities of Uganda, the socialites of Kampala, people you only see in the night. During the day, you can't see them. I knew where the party was. I knew where, if you called me and asked me, we want to drink, I would say, I know where to go and drink. I knew where to find, I was a party person. And I started to live from friend to friend. And I didn't go back to school. That's how my life was for the next 7 years. I was staying with my brother, and I thank my brother for being patient with me. He's totally different from me. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, work. He living a healthy lifestyle. And so me, he was boring to me. But I was under his roof. And so he would tell my family, King came last night, drunk. And so he didn't know how to deal with me. First of all, he feared even how to approach me. And the way he approached me, it was good intentions, but it went the wrong way. And so he pushed me far away from us knowing each other. And when he was home, I was never home. When he was at work, I was home. I never wanted to be in his face because of so much, what are you doing with your life? What do you want to do? What do you do with your money? You never contribute anything in the house. All that. A lot of questioning me, and I didn't like that. I reached a point where I didn't have where to stay. I felt stuck. And I was like, let me go back home. So I went back home to my parents' up country. And they didn't know what to deal with me. Food was there, there was a house, everything I needed was there. And I just stayed home. But every time I was home, I was drunk. And I tried to work, I couldn't work, couldn't sustain a job. I'd even started drinking at my workplace. I would get out at lunchtime and drink and come back. So I was dysfunctional by the time I went back home. And so I resorted to tote packs. Tote pack was like 500 shillings. And 10,000 would knock me out. As long as I had 10K, I'm sorted. And so my dad would wake up every morning and put money out my door when he was going to work. He would put 10,000, he would put 5,000, he would put 20,000. But he knew that I wanted airtime. He knew that I wanted some things. And we are not talking. And so his way of talking to me, I would wake up every morning, I find he had put money. And I would get the money, go, I buy alcohol, buy tote packs, buy my cigarettes. And the day goes. And by then I was doing Mira, doing my runji, do my runji in the evening and things like that. So for the whole year I was home. I stopped taking care of myself. I feared people in the community had known the son of so and so, spoiled. Now in my family, I wasn't the only one who was going through that. My other brothers were also, we were doing drugs and alcohol together. And I had also two of my brothers. And so we would drink together, we would smoke together. And that's when I lost it.
Hello, this is Anchored 619. We're so glad that you have followed us all this while. If you're new here, please subscribe, click that notification button. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. You don't want to miss any of our episodes.